I think the tragedy in American Christian culture, especially over the last 40 years, has almost been not a remaining, but a running away. Or it's become polarized in this way. It's been a running away or a revolt, one of the two. But in the runaway camp of Christianity, they would say things like this, that, well, Jesus isn't political. Or there's like a third way, and it's not this way or that way, it's the Jesus way. And I get where all that's coming from, but I just wonder anymore, is there really a third way? Is Jesus so apolitical? I would submit to you, no. I would submit to you this, it doesn't even make logical sense that if Jesus is the Lord of all, and if he's not the Lord of all, he's not Lord at all, and that if Jesus is the Lord of all, he cares so deeply about history and nations and people and the poor and the widow and the orphan and the hopeless and the helpless, all of these areas of our life that are completely infected or affected by the political stratosphere in this world. So to say that Jesus is apolitical just doesn't make any logical sense. It's as if Christians over the last 40 years have said, well, Jesus can have this much of the pie, but this little sliver, well, he doesn't really care about that. That's not really what he's all about. And we don't really want to say anything here because it's under the guise of empathy. If we say something, we might come across as unloving or hating our fellow man. And listen, I'm not all about bashing people over the head and being a jerk for jerk's sake. And we got plenty of those in church culture, okay? Like we don't need one more. But what we do need is like this spiritual surgery of a spine to be put into the church to be able to step in with the truth of the gospel of Jesus and recognize that our story isn't a whole lot different than every story in the scripture. Think about every story in the scripture is set against the background vignette of a political culture, a political climate, a human ruler who's desperate for power and sick with sin. Think about Egypt, think about Babylon, Assyria, Persia, Rome, just name it. All of the stories in the scriptures have a political background and setting that God stepped into and then delivered his people out of a tyrannical central authoritarian regime because God is the deliverer. And that's what he does. Every story, even the Christmas story, like just Christmas, listen, forgive me, okay? You have to, we're in church, that's what we do. But like, forgive me because like, as for me and my house, we started listening to Christmas music last month. I should be clear, I did. My wife is like, thinks I'm crazy, and that's okay. But like, you know, like even the Christmas story, just go and read the Christmas story. Read through the Christmas story. The whole background of the story is a politically charged culture with Herod Antipas, and you have Caesar who's calling for a census. Why? So he can tax people. You know, it's like completely political in the Christmas story. Read Mary's Magnificat in Luke chapter 2. It's nothing but a political statement that Jesus, this son of mine, would be a ruler among ruler. We use phrases in the church that are highly politically driven words. We say things like his kingdom. We say things like his reign or the Lord or the king. When we say he's the king of all kings and the Lord of all lords, we say he is different than, higher than, greater than any earthly power that may be. That is a deeply political statement. Saying that it's not just in this area of life, but all areas of life, Jesus is the Lord of all. Jesus is the most influential reformer that ever lived. Lest we forget that it was the state and religion that nailed Jesus to the cross. Lest we forget that Jesus upset both systems of human rulership, that they nailed him to the cross. But I tell you what, I'm thankful for this, and I know you're thankful for this, so back me up on this. I'm thankful that the cross was not the end of the reign of Jesus. It was the inauguration of him as king of all of it. So can we sit on the fence?
God is doing so much here at Arise Church, and we want you to be a part of it. Stay connected with us on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram, and wherever you can find us online at My Arise Church, and we'll see you next week.